Somebody just jumped? Yeah. No, I can see now.
Sand up the river.
The resilience is we kept testing the resilience to make sure that we, had plenty of it. And we've had, architects and builders and everybody up here, and they always said, well, you could build a tower on top of it. So we're really not worried about going up, higher with it if we want to. Well, it's disassembled right now. I was going to have one for demo to show you today, but I didn't have time. We got the truck broke down.
That's the truck that hauled all the sand.
There's a little pickup that hauled all the sand.
Where did you get this sand?
About 1,000 loads of it, I guess. Just got it out of the creek beds around here. Put it in all our pathways and everything. Here's a solar panel. This runs everywhere. Of course, not anywhere near what Gene's got over there, but we're not running what Gene's running either. I mean, we're just running smaller things. We don't have freezers or things like that, so we don't really need them. We found it better off without it. And our little computer, we're really happy with that. And that doesn't have any moving parts in it either. It's a Sinclair computer from England. And it's
Who's running the computer?
low amperage.
I missed that.
It draws 1 amp. It's running probably don't run off 9 volts anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah. We just run ours directly off 9 volts.
You run them directly off 9 volts.
Yeah.
Oh.
Most of your computers will burn up your transformer. Most of your problems with computers are that they're trying to hold back so much energy from 110 down to 9 volts that they burn up the transformers. So we just went with the 9 volts and we bring it down from 12 and we're doing fine with it.
There's their water.
Oh, is this?
Like we used to haul it down to camp. Every time we come around the thing,
Oh, yeah? Get some good water down there.
By any chance, you know what this is? Anybody know?
Honey, what's the name of this plant? Yeah.
I think you're right.
You should know.
All of a sudden, they just opened up all over the place.
Yeah. On the radiation from pole lines coming out 150 feet, and causing effects on your plants and on your small rodents. We've noticed it a lot since the pole lines went in. The wildlife is gone. So there might be something good. I don't know. It's downstairs on one of those tables. November issue of Congress Line. It radiates out 150 feet in all directions.
Simple power line, huh?
Yeah. Right now.
How about the big one?
Oh, the big ones. Jeez, I don't know.
Yeah, you can hear them. They don't live
Oh, induction?
Like this.
They collect their own.
Like Tesla principle.
Huh?
Like Tesla.
Yeah. One of the other advantages to the property, so I'm standing right on, I might as well talk about it, is this peculiar looking rock here. It's the little black specks in it are tourmaline crystal. And tourmaline is a very powerful crystal in a piezoelectric effect way. Piezoelectric effect means it can produce electricity, just what it is. By either pressure or light, it will produce electricity. We ran some minor tests, and we're really excited about the potential involved here and what we could do later on, but we don't have the time or wherewithal to really get into it. But we feel that eventually we'll be able to, and people everywhere will be able to use crystals to power, all their all their equipment probably under 12 volts. I mean, you know, just the same thing we're running here. You're getting 12 volts of energy, just like the solar panels. In fact, these panels themselves are crystals. They're sand crystals, and they're just grown, and then they're sliced and start producing electricity. But anyway, there's a undiscovered potential here in this permanent crystal. There's a lot of deposits in Arizona. Our water supply right now, we just deactivated the air well because we're going to build a bigger one. And that's going right where the pickup is. We got the rock here ready to start putting it in. So in the interim, we haul our water, and we just got some hot water tanks for the hauling out of Chino, and run gravity flow, and we water our garden and showers and everything else off of just gravity flow. It works fine. And it hasn't bothered us a bit in hauling water. There's a facility at Ashford that has a 24-hour coin-operated water facility. You can come in and put a quarter in and get 25 gallons of water. So a lot of people just put tanks on their truck and go in and load up and take it out to their place. Chino's got the same thing, but we haven't checked in to see if it's available to the public or not. They've got one of those gadgets. Big pardon? Ash Fork is 25 miles as the crow flies right through here. There's a back way to get into it. And we really like it up there. It's a wilderness. There's still bear and cougar and everything just prevalent right in the area. It's undeveloped.
It's because of the lack of water.
Huh?
Lack of groundwater.
Yeah, that's the main drawback of people going in there was the groundwater. That's why we're gone more into the air well and trying to understand and build them. Because if we can... There's one guy up there, his name is Cook. He lives off the 89 highway there to the left just before you get into Ash Fork. I think it's Road 123. He's never hauled any water. And all he did was he built his house himself, and he built it out of rock, and then he put a roof, slope, and calculated to collect 10.5 inches a year of rainwater. I mean, he just based it on that. And he dug a big 30,000-gallon cistern, and he's never been out of water. He's got just tons of water all the time, just from the rainwater. He runs it through a charcoal filter, so it's good for drinking, and he irrigates with it and does all his wash and everything with it. So we've been invited up to see his setup, but we haven't got up there yet. But there's different ways to do things. These spools come from APS. They're free for the hauling. If you know somebody down there, or just go into the yard and ask for them. They make dandy little workbenches or tables or anything else. Now, these two panels here work better than these, believe it or not. And we got these for, well, we practically stole them. We got them so cheap. We got them for $90 a panel. And we found that even though it looks bad, it's breaking the light up better. It's acting more as prisms and sending the light into the cell. We're getting, I think it's like 0.1.5 or 0.2 amps more power out of these than we are these.
I wonder if you just took sandblasted glass, put sandblasted glass over your other panel, whether that would increase the output.
Gee, that might. It might.
Or the glass that they use on pictures, the opaque, until you put it right up to your panel or up to your picture, and then it looks clear. might be interesting.
worth an experiment.
Yeah, your wife was.
Oh, did they? They're still working?
She was saying that those were her best too. That's where I first heard it from.
They work great. I'll buy all they got at that price.
Right. That's what she was saying.
Where'd you get these?
Got them from Gene.
Of course, he said they don't sell the seconds anymore.
Well, no, they were the company. He said they did sell a small seconds. Right? The small one.
Well, he used to be with Photowatt. Photowatt was bought out by Arco. Arco has just gobbled up all the little guys.
Arco was.
And Arco won't let any of their stuff out in seconds. I mean, that's their policy. But Gene is in with the Japanese now, and the Japanese are building a superior panel.
They don't break.
They're no longer circles. They're using advantage of the whole panel. And I forget the name of that crystal.
Morphosilicon.
What is it?
Morphosilicon?
Yeah. And it's for the size you're getting 44 watts out of the same area, producing 35 of these. So you're getting a better deal. And we suspect that the prices will be dropping.
After the tax credits.
Huh?
After the tax credits? After the tax credits go off?
Yeah, probably after the tax credits.
Or
You're
because
going to have to do something to keep people interested. But now that Japan's into it, I mean, gee whiz. Think of calculators and computers and everything else just a few years ago. We got our computer like we did everything else. There's a little second-hand store here in Chino, and the guy didn't know what he had. He had a brand new computer sitting in a box with an extra memory and some tape programs there. We didn't know what he had either. We weren't even into computers then, but we'd gone to Thousand Trails for a demonstration in a free video game called Odyssey. You run on your video, and it only had 3 shows on it, and that was it. And we really didn't care for it. So we asked him if he'd like to work out a swap, and he said sure. So the computer wound up costing us $20. And then we started figuring it out on energy-wise, and we asked all the people if we could run it off of solar, and they said no, they didn't think so, but it was simplicity. It was 9 volts to operate it, so why couldn't you run it direct? And then the first day we plugged it in, it worked fine, and it's still working fine off of 9 volts. We went down to Radio Shack and got a little reducer that you plug into your cigarette lighter. It reduces it from 12 to 9 to 6 to 4.5 or whatever you want. And gee, it just works slick. And we've been just going crazy with that computer. But we like to go to garage sales and stuff. We find a lot of materials there. If we had to do all this stuff new or to hire it out, in fact, the lady that came out, she's a friend of ours. She's with Action Realty in Chino. She came out. She said, "Well, there's nothing on a house like that in our books. They're all done to plans and squares and boxes and everything. And a custom home," she said, well, she didn't know where to place it in the price category. So we bought this land. We got a deal on the land too, by the way. It was in court. Nobody wanted to touch it because it was tied up in a divorce. We decided to take a chance on it, and we're glad we did. We bought the land, and a year and a half later, it had doubled, and now it's on its way to tripling itself. So we're glad we bought the land. But she looked at the house and said, well, I said, well, of course it's not finished. It's just in its infancy, and I don't know what to put on it. And I told her what we had into it, and materials and things. She couldn't believe that. But she put her value down on her. We asked her for an estimate, and she put the value down at $40,000. And I just about fell over. And then our friend who works for APS, that little house down just down the meadow in front of us.
With all the solar panels on it.
Yeah, with all the panels on it, yeah, right. He won't tie into APS. And he's one of their surveyors. But he came up and told us how proud he was of this house and what a deal he got on it. And I said, well, how much did you pay for it? And he said, well, I've got 2 bedrooms, and I went down and looked, and he doesn't even have the room that we've got. He's got 2 bedrooms and a kitchen living room combo and 1 bathroom. And it cost him $65,000 to have it built. And I just, geez.
How much land do you have here?
We've got 12 acres.
It seems a lot big. You've got seems like a rather large house.
It isn't when you get into it. It's just 2 average-sized bedrooms and a bath and that living kitchen thing.
And no character.
Huh?
And no character.
And no what?
No character.
No characters. But he said he was happy that, you know, he thought that was cheap. He checked with Lincoln Homes and a lot of home builders, and he thought he was getting a real bargain. I didn't tell him what we had into our place at that point.
No, no, make him feel real bad.
He tied himself up for the next, I think it was 40 years. He's got to make payments, and he took out a loan on everything, the property and everything. It was $98,000 that he's got to be paying on for a long time. And we're free and clear. Well, not on the property. We're still buying the property. We still got probably a year or 2 on that. Everything else is free. So
Thanks a lot.
Okay, well.
Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Glad to
Sharing with us.
Huh? Okay, you go down to the corner and turn right. And then turn left. And
Where?
you'll follow your way out.